Welcome to the Caregiver's Careport, brought to you by Scissortail Health Coaching. Today's guest is Helen Sullivan, a wife and mother of 3 adult daughters and grandmother to many teens and young adult grandchildren. Helen and her husband, Bobby, in addition to being partners in marriage and raising a family, were partners in many business ventures and enjoyed taking risks together and tackling challenges as successful entrepreneurs. Those challenges changed, however, when Bobby developed Alzheimer's disease. Helen is now their decision maker and leader of his care team. Well, Helen, welcome. It's good to have you on the podcast.
Well, I'm excited to be here and see you and talk to you again, like we like to do.
So we've actually known each other quite a number of years, I should say decades, which ages us, but we haven't always lived in the same city. So there were many years where we didn't see each other for extended periods of time. But it's been really nice to reconnect with you.
Absolutely. I've thought about this many times because, Corbell, you've been a lifesaver to me in my journey, dealing with Bobby's disease. And I really think that people are put in your life if you're open to it, because we have known each other for 50 some years. And, who knew that you were starting the Scissortail health coaching that I would need desperately when I made the decision to move Bobby to a facility. And I can't thank you enough. So there is my thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure being able to be part of that. And for our listeners, would you kind of give us an overview of where your caregiving journey started and how it's progressed?
Well, Corbell, the way I feel about caregiving is that you, as a wife and as a partner, you're always caregiving. We started out 54 years ago caregiving, hopefully to each other. Sometimes it's a little bit more on one person than the other, but I think women instinctively are, and I'm of course stereotyping, but maybe a little bit more caregiving on the whole and used to caregiving. So it comes a little harder at this stage, to deal with certain health issues. But I think you kind of come into it a little bit more naturally, or a little easier, at least for me, because we've shared so many things together, my husband and I, work-wise, talking about every single thing.
And you've been married for 54 years and have been close. And like you say, you've shared a lot of things. How did you know when Bobby was having trouble?
It's a sneaky disease because a lot of people can hide it for a very long time, and you just think, oh boy,
Alzheimer's.
it's it's just age. You think, oh well, it's the old thing about he forgot his keys or can't find his keys or can't find this, can't find that. But it's more than that. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, you actually do know that there's a difference between not finding your keys and, hiding, $100 in your pocket, or your coat pocket, or hiding things and being anxious, a little bit more anxious. Actually, that was kind of the breaking point, is the fear that I saw in him about not being able to do things. And it's, it was sad,
Yeah.
I I didn't want to acknowledge it, obviously. Nobody wants to. You
Mm-hmm.
want to say, well, it's okay. It's just he doesn't feel well, or he's not, he's coming down with something, or there are a lot of excuses that you can use about not wanting to accept that there is a problem. But once we did decide that we needed to get some uh, medical help, medical uh, expertise on this, to see if he was, to diagnose, I guess. And they did, but what's a diagnosis that you already know? You can kind of confirm these things, but with a medical diagnosis. But then what do you do? That is not the end. That's the
Yeah.
beginning.
And
It's
I,
the
I
big.
think that point's a really interesting one, Helen, that you made when you said, but it's hard to admit it. It's hard to really take that in that this is happening. What was the tipping point for you that was a signal that you needed to take him to the doctor?
Actually, he came up with it. I can't remember things anymore, and that was a very slight um, on his part. I don't know that he actually meant that he knew that he was getting Alzheimer's, or that he was just worried about his memory. And he kept mentioning, oh, I just can't remember these things anymore, that type of thing. And I said, well, would you
Mm-hmm.
like to go and see if there's something that can be done? And I thought that was a real easy way to get him into a doctor, you know. But
And it's very helpful for the person because you're really helping them be part of that decision making when you say, "Would you like to see if something could be done?" Because
and
that.
that helped. I mean, it really
Mhm.
did. He was agreeable to that. Um, I think that that helped me. And I, of course, I was trying to kind of soft soap it for him. Like, well, there's probably something that you can take. Obviously, we always want to take something to get rid of whatever is ailing us, but and they would prescribe, and there's some prescriptions that you can take, but it's not going to reverse things, and it's not going to make things better in the long run. I mean, we know the end game, so it's
Mhm.
just kind of how you want to manage that end game to the end game.
Yeah.
And it's but I think the more you can be honest really with yourself, uh, you you have to be honest with him to a certain extent. After a while, I can't say that I was always honest with him about things, because I knew it was worse than it was. So I was just trying to be encouraging to him. Um, so it's it's just hard, and I think after living with somebody for so long, you do try to go around what might hurt them. You know,
Mhm.
you don't want to hurt this person. You
Yeah.
want to say you'll never get better, and it's just not very going to be a very good end. So, and he always
Mhm.
said, well, I just would never want to do this. I would just take care of myself, I mean, whatever that meant. But when you have that disease, you don't really have that cognitive wherewithal,
Right.
because it
Right.
sneaks up on you.
Yeah. Now, how many years are you into his illness?
I would say that it really got to be pretty rough about 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And, but I felt, like most caregivers at a certain point, I can handle it, but I was talking to, what made me realize that I needed, I needed a kind of a different mindset, if you can say that. was a lady that works with Alzheimer's patients, said, at some point you'll realize and something will happen, and you will know that it is time to uh, move forward with some either help or moving to a facility or just change directions there, with his care. Uh, and it was scary. Yeah, it was scary, you know, because it scared me. Well, the fear was you want him to be safe. You want you to be safe. You want him to be safe. And at some point, he was not safe.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to call. He had sundowners, I guess. Isn't that the correct?
Yes, for when they have more
It's
difficulties in the evening.
in the evening, and he was just like, well, it was very difficult. It got to be very difficult, and that's when kind of it came to a head. But he would say he would be very scared and very anxiety ridden, fearful,
Mm-hmm.
paranoid. Um, very, but I will tell you one funny thing. I think it's kind of funny because funny things do happen if you kind of think they're funny. But he said at one time, he said in the evening, he looked at me and he goes, "Well, where's Helen?" And I went, "Well, I'm right here. I'm right here." And he goes, "No, no." He said, "Where's Helen?"
Yeah.
And so he kept asking me. And so I asked the lady when I was talking to this other lady that works with Alzheimer's patients, I said, he keeps asking, where I am. And I keep saying, "No, I'm right here. I'm right here." And he doesn't believe me. But she said, "Well, I really think that most of them revert back between, say, in the teens to 25," or she listed some age, some young age. So I'm sure he was looking at me, some old bag, and saying, "Are you kidding me? I'm not married to you."
Yeah.
Whoa, like, ah,
Yeah.
it was one of those kind of funny moments that, you know, and I've heard that from a lot of people that
Yes.
they don't recognize you, in that state, and I
Mm-hmm.
just thought it was kind of funny that, no telling what he thought, like, "Oh my God, how do I get out of this thing?" But I'm not
Yeah.
married to her. So I thought that was kind of humorous, but yet it was sad at the same time
Right.
that and a lot of people have asked me, "Well, does he still recognize you?" And, weird thing, I mean, kind of strange things like that. And I thought, yeah, he does. He does. But, I don't see him a lot in the evening, in the late evenings. And so who knows whether he thinks that some old lady's going to, you know, is visiting with him or something. I don't know. But
So,
I
Helen,
just thought it was,
so you had at some point you realized it's really not safe, and he's not feeling safe, um, and you came to a point where you had to make a really difficult decision on whether or not he could be at home or he needed to be in a more intensive care setting, such as a memory care unit.
right.
Can you share with us, how what it was like for you making that decision, what you see as some of the difficulties in the decision making process, and how you dealt with those?
There were several things that uh, led me to the decision to have him join this facility. And one of them was my kids are great. I mean, my daughters are wonderful, and they came to me and they said, "Mom, something's got to give. You are not
Mhm.
safe. Dad is not safe. This isn't right for anybody, and it's not right for you to have to be, chasing him down the street, when he's
Mhm.
scared." And that got to a point where it really was a safety issue. So, number one, the kids kind of came to me and said, let's make a decision here. And they were
Mhm.
so supportive and so wonderful about it, and have been supporting ever since, about for their dad. And I know it was hard for them to realize that their dad really wasn't their dad anymore, that they remembered, growing up, and
Yes.
because they weren't around him all the time like I was, so they saw a distinct difference uh, from time to time about what was going on.
Mhm.
And so that made it easier, even though, and it for me it was like, that's it, um, but I think the safety issue is just one of the most important things, really.
Yes.
um, People aren't safe, when they get to a certain point. And the medication, I knew that, being in a different place, the medication would be regulated, which I think is very important, especially if people are having some psychosis. They need different medication that I was willing, I wouldn't know. I
Mhm.
have to rely you have to rely on the medical profession to help you out,
Yeah.
and for for you, to help me out. You are
Yeah.
such a great help. So, I think asking yourself what would be the best for him instead of what's the best for you. Think about him at first. Can he be safe? Can he be somewhat content? Can he get the medication he needs? Can he get the support? The 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 physical therapy, if he needs that, would be provided, and lots of different help that they have in the different facilities that you're not aware of, and help
Right.
for you you know, um, to be able to enjoy him
Yeah.
in a setting that is a more of a neutral setting.
Yeah.
Not that.
There's so much you were having to consider at that time and to think about. And then usually also at the running along with kind of managing the thought process of when is it time? What's the best road forward? There's also that emotional journey. And and could you speak to the emotional journey? Would you feel comfortable doing that?
Oh, sure. Well, I think it's pretty rough, actually. You as you and I have talked about, we've talked about the guilt that you feel. You
Mhm.
you feel guilty, because not only do you feel guilty about him being some other place, but you also feel guilty about, why did he have this? I really thought that we would be living a different life right now in our ages, which we have. And I don't know, there's a just the feeling that it's on you to make a decision about him.
Yeah.
And also you feel guilty about the relief you feel. I mean, I can't imagine people not feeling a relief when you get help, or when you have somebody else helping take care of him,
Mhm.
or your wife or your partner or whoever it is. But it's a relief, um, because of the stress. You don't know whether you're doing the right thing
Mhm.
always. You
Yeah.
second guess yourself, and even in
Right
the
there.
little even in the little things that you're normally doing day to day, whether it was like, I'll say, oh, well, I'll take care of that usually, and like that. And then you take care of it now and you think, well, am I doing the right thing? You're
Mhm.
second guessing a lot. But I think it's the guilt of relief and why, you know. But I kind of got over a lot of that why stuff because, it happens to a lot of people and it's um,
So you got past the why, that kind of why us, why Bobby.
yeah,
You've gotten
that was a
past,
great thing, you know.
yeah.
It, that was
Um,
kind of
but it's a pretty common thing that people go through, especially when they see other couples, or they're in social situations, or they realize they're not in social situations anymore that they used to enjoy.
mm.
What's it been like for you, and what changes have been in your life since Bobby went to a memory care unit?
Actually, I've continued on with the activities that we normally did, like day to day, like we
Hmm.
had we have an office, I try to make a routine that is somewhat similar to what I've always done. Um, and of course, at night, you kind of think, wish he was here, so where we could talk and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But um, and, and this is one kind of funny thing, but another kind of funny story. But I thought at one time, this is when it kind of hits you in the face about they're not exactly what you know they were. We were having this discussion. I thought we were having a pretty good conversation at one point, and he looked at me and he said, well, now, do you have a business card? And so, and so,
Yeah.
and so I thought, well, I wonder if he's going to fire me or hire me. I don't know who he thought I was, but and there again, they are so wily, about hiding this disease that,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of crazy. But anyway, neither here nor there, but it, it's, at night, you have to kind of make some different changes, about eating habits. It's very easy just to eat cereal every night or, I mean, the daily things that you normally do at night, I think have been different,
Yeah, I
more
think
so
one of the
during the
things
day.
that really kind of hits those of us who have been caregivers for a long time, especially, and then when caregiving is over, in terms of the everyday, I'm caregiving and have kind of gotten in that routine, is the number of readjustments to make. There's
Mhm.
the readjustment to make in, well, I may be alone now. What do I do, for eating? What do I do in terms of engaging friends, especially if a lot of what you did socially was as a couple? And and
That's
that's
a
that
that's a
takes,
that's a tough one.
yeah, that it takes a lot of work. How are you managing to fill your needs just for social engagement?
Actually, I've been very fortunate, because, I've I've been I've been involved in different, like, book club, birthday club, those types of things that, are great social gatherings for me,
Hmm.
longtime friends, long, long time friends. But once again, I've told you that a lot of times you feel like a widow with a husband. You don't,
That's a
you're
really
kind of,
powerful statement. Yeah.
you do because you're not in the widowhood, you're not in that scene, but yet, you don't want to forget that he's still there. He's still part of your life, great part of your life. But I know that, as far as socializing, Bobby's friends have been, I cannot tell you how great they are. They're longtime friends. They've been they've been together since college,
Mm-hmm.
most of them, and so they've been such a help. I mean, it's unbelievable, how supportive they are and how they go see him. And I don't
I
know.
think just
Many
let me
special.
yeah, I just want to pause right here and say to the listeners that the friends of your spouse or the person you're caregiving for can be a really important asset in terms of your own your own well-being, and your own support network, as well as for those that they who's receiving the care. And a big
Mhm.
shout out to his friends, who are hanging in there with him, because that's often a difficult thing for people to do, especially if they don't have any experience with whatever illness your loved one has. They don't know what to expect, and it takes a lot of courage for them to kind of enter into that with you.
And I think that's part of your responsibility. At least I felt like it was partly my responsibility to keep them informed about certain things. I had a birthday party for him, and I don't know how much he enjoyed it, but uh, I wanted his friends to be around him, to
Mm-hmm.
know that it's not, you know, that he's still Bobby, that he's still partly, engaging. Uh, he he may not remember your name, but he enjoys he enjoyed the social aspect of having people that he sort of recognized around him. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, he didn't really remember much about it, the next day, but that didn't matter. I wanted to put his friends at ease too, and my
Mm-hmm.
friends. I invited my friends because people are curious about how you're getting along, how he's getting along, you know, um, how's he doing, all that. And so, for certain times, I think it is kind of your responsibility to
Mm-hmm.
help your friends, his friends, to
Yeah,
know
and
how.
it sounds like you did that when he was at the care facility. Um,
Right,
the,
I
yeah,
did.
which is, I think, real important for people to know, is that you can kind of bring people to them. That
Hmm.
going in a care facility does not mean that you're divorced from the outside world.
Well, and going into a facility a lot of times is not the most pleasant thing because as an emotional, you look around, and that's what when I decided to have him live there. It's a hard decision because you walk in and you think, oh, I want him to have friends, or I want him to
Yes.
be, social with these other people. Well, that's not, it's not exactly the same. And,
Hmm.
the other people there are all different levels, of cognitive levels, I guess I should say.
Hmm.
But some are better than others, and Bobby's better than some, and but it's a hard thing to realize that he's one of them, you know, one of the
Yes.
one of the people in that facility.
And
And that is tough. I think it's real tough, and it's tough for people, but people have been so wonderful about going there and being part of it, with me. So
And from the
you can't.
smile on your face when you say that, I can tell that it really means a lot to you. And I
Oh,
think,
it's
you know, I
emotional.
think, I think that your insight into realizing that, yes, you want him to have a social life, you want him to have friends. On the other hand, you realize his capabilities are different, and so are the other people around him.
Yes,
And you do everything you can to enrich their lives and
exactly.
have enjoyable experiences for them in a safe place. Um, but on the other hand, it's not going to be like it was 10 years ago.
No.
It's going to be different, but I'm just going to do what I can within the reality of what is now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And what
Yeah.
it might be if there is 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, there's and this is kind of one of those things that happened to me. There's a little booklet that we have at church that, it's like daily things uh, every day. So I just turned to our anniversary date, and it was from Matthew, and it said, "Don't don't worry about." It's something like, I'm paraphrasing. I'm not really a Bible scholar, but don't worry about today. Uh, don't worry about tomorrow. They have worries of its own, or something like that. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's a good thing to remember. Like, you know, in fact, don't worry. Just, sometimes you just have to either accept it or do something about it. Uh, and
Yeah.
that's and that's kind of what you have to do. And people have asked me different things. I mean, people will ask you like crazy things. Like, I probably ask crazy things with people, with different going through different situations that I really regret now. But uh, how'd you do it? How you do it? I think, or how can I do it? A lot of people have asked me, knowing that I've gone through this phase,
Mm-hmm.
well, how did you do it? And they want to know, like, either physically or mentally or something like that. And I go, well, you have to think of yourself that you are stronger than you think you are. And you really are. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes by facing something that you really, really, in my wildest dreams, that I would never want to do, is
Mm-hmm.
is what we've already gone through.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you go through it and you think, well, we did it, and we'll just face the next phase, whatever that might be. Those worries are
Mm-hmm.
going to be tomorrow, so.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of one of those things that kind of put me at ease, knowing that it was my anniversary and his anniversary, and it told me not to worry about it. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
just take care of it and get that mindset that you always talk about in our in your coaching me. Um, get that mindset to positive. But I love my foundation of faith, and I've got great family. I've got all that. And I just want to tell people that I have wonderful friends. Can't ask for better friends. Can't ask for better coaching like you have given me. I can't ask for a better family. All of that. But you know what? It's still tough. And
Mm-hmm.
it's still with you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you really have the responsibility of your loved one that you've loved for all these years. So
Yeah.
you
And Helen, I
yeah,
think you give us a beautiful example um, for all of us to look up to in terms of taking those strengths that you have and the blessings that you have and really using them to get you through and then realizing, you know what, I'm making it through. So you become stronger and stronger, which is one of the surprising blessings, I think, of caregiving is as you make it through, you have a new appreciation for your own resilience. Because
surprising.
you're,
It is
yes,
surprising.
yes,
And
it's,
and that part is the joyful part.
yes,
That you can find joy in the fact that, okay, we're still together. We can still handle things. He
yes,
can things as much as he can. And he's, and whatever comes is that it may not be pretty, but we can do it. And it's good, you know.
Yeah, such an
I think,
affirmation of your own strength, and I
well,
congratulate you on that.
well, I
So
often say though, let me tell you what I said to a lot of people. Well, you just don't have a lot of options. And maybe other people do, but I didn't feel like I did.
mhm,
So, um, people have a lot of options as far as, having caregivers in their house, helping them. I didn't have that option. Um, having people round the clock. I couldn't for me in that situation, I couldn't manage another person. I
mhm,
felt like I needed to either manage myself and Bobby or just, you know, I mean,
yeah,
I couldn't do it. So,
yeah,
I mean, I give a shout out to people that can. And it's certainly everybody can have their own path on that. Uh,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I just want to say that to every caregiver that knows that something has to be done, think it through and be honest with yourself about your options, and and know that it's not a failing that you can't take care of them totally. It's not a failure. It's really it's their benefit, and you need to think about they what would be the best situation for them.
yeah,
Can't think about yourself as much.
yeah.
So,
Well, I certainly thank you for sharing with us today on a pretty personal level. And I'm hopeful that it will be helpful to many people, and that they'll see parts of their own journey that they share in with your journey also.
well,
So
once again, though, Corbell, people come into your life as you have come into my life and uh, help me guide, you with the scissor tail, wellness. I just think that everybody should reach out if they need help. Uh, it's no weakness to say I need help. It's
right,
just
that's important for all of us to remember. So
really.
thank you again for being here. And to our listeners, if you would like to click on the voicemail link below and leave any topics or questions that you would like addressed in the podcast, I will listen to all of them and we'll work them into our series. Also below is a button to subscribe, and I would invite you to do that, and a link to Scissortail Health Coaching if you want to explore personal help for yourself. So until next time, take care.